Revelatory experiences are these moments where you receive information from beyond the sense of self in an inward way. And so, yeah, voices, visions, epiphanies that feel like they are delivered to your mind whole cloth and don't come from your normal process of cognition. So hearing voices, it's a classic example.
And here, uh, the question of mental illness enters the picture, right? Was um, are you schizophrenic or are you not? I guess is the question. If you're hearing voices and of course there are people there are certainly academics who would say the answer is yes. I mean, hearing voices, they're not there, and that's it. On the other hand, there's such a fine line between experiencing a thought and hearing a voice. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
But anyway, go ahead. Well, or did I just label myself as crazy? Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, really, though, it's not just this category. Every category, the issue of psychopathology is important to consider in each and every category, because and positive outcomes and prevalence, in each of these categories. And it gets back to your thought on Freud and Jung and James, where Freud, when he heard about these experiences, he would have looked at them and said, these are all species of psychopathology.
Mm-hmm.
Never having had one of these experiences and just thinking they're weird and not collecting any data whatsoever. Jung was sort of the other extreme, a bit more nuanced, but tended to see these types of experiences as wholly positive, and speaking to a kind of collective conscious. And James was much, much more nuanced. He really did bend over backwards to acknowledge that not all these experiences are positive, as do we in the book, and that some of them are indeed related to psychopathology. And I think you're right. Revelatory experience is a good category to drill down on this, because if someone starts hearing voices, they should seek out a mental health professional. I mean, that's the advice.
Mm-hmm.
However, a lot of people end up hearing a voice here and there throughout their lives. It's actually quite normative, and many people, some of them are just random voices, but some of them, you hear something quite meaningful, and it ends up being a positive experience.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the third thing in that sequence under revelatory, voices, visions, and epiphanies. Epiphanies, I mean, your experience was was that an epiphany where you felt the power of love?
I wouldn't say so. It wasn't information wasn't conveyed directly in like a representational form.
It wasn't, now I get it, colon. And there's something after the colon.
Right. Exactly. And there's this interpretive component. Like you said, oh, this is my brain, different parts of my brain talking to one another. Some people choose that interpretation. Some people think that was God that spoke to me. Interestingly, there's often an assumption, if this was my brain speaking to me, that must be a symptom of mental illness. Whereas if it's God, then that's a good thing. I think it's very important to break that necessary connection. Even if it's part of your brain talking to another part of your brain, the outcome of that experience can be quite positive and meaningful, and therefore it doesn't make sense to think of it as a sign or symptom of mental illness in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to look to the outcome. And so if the outcome is good, it's inappropriate to think of it in this pathologizing way, which many people still do.
Right. And I mean, the point of James's quote that I read earlier is don't be so judgmental. James was writing after Darwin, and I guess he recognized that, the brains we have are products of natural selection, a particular evolutionary path. They're designed to take care of an organism. There's no reason to assume that the form of consciousness that leads to on a day-to-day basis is the most valid or truest way of apprehending the universe. And I might say that with respect to your experience, that li- not that you said yours was a feeling of boundless love, I guess, but it was a feeling of love. And I would say, a feeling of boundless love is probably, pure, true, utterly boundless love. There's probably no way for an animal to go about getting its genes in a next generation. I mean, unless, you know what I mean? I mean, the point is, I think that was kind of the importance of James's insight. In fact, he uses the term adaptive or something, I think, in that phrase, that they may have their realms of being adaptive and these different states.
And he makes a big deal about the kinds of things that we can't answer, the kinds of questions we can't answer, and takes those issues off the table largely till the very end, and says, let's look at what we can actually study scientifically, causes, correlates, and consequences, basically. But yeah, in terms of, whether it's true or not in the supernatural sense, basically says we can't know that scientifically, at least.